saccharin, aspartame, dioxin, Agent Orange, and Zyklon B gas. What do all these products have in common? All the products were manufactured by Monsanto. What else do these products have in common? They were all deemed unsafe to humans. Saccharin and aspartame are artificial sweeteners. They were said to have led to cancer, deformities, and multiple sclerosis. Agent Orange, which contains dioxin, caused many health problems, including cancer and birth defects. Zyklon B gas is the gas used during the Holocaust for the gas chambers. If you fast forward to present time, Monsanto, the same company, is now the leading manufacturer in genetically modified seeds that they claim are safe. Being well informed on the issue of genetically modified seeds, foods, and animals will help the public to make better decisions about what they eat and what they feed their families. And keeping abreast of what Monsanto is doing to the food industry is part of that decision. Monsanto has become a monopoly that has used the media, the courts, and the government to put farmers out of business. They change our food and the way it is produced, and they're lobbying against laws that would provide labeling on foods to show genetically modified organisms. Monopoly, by definition of Investopedia, is a situation in which a single company or group owns all, or nearly all, of the market for a given type of product or service. The gray area in this definition is that it includes patents on new inventions. Monsanto is patenting its seeds, and it could be considered a monopoly because of this. Monsanto and 3 other biotech seed companies own 80% of the U.S. corn, 70% of the United States soybean business. Furthermore, Monsanto is licensing its seeds out to the competition, these 3 other companies, which at this point becomes a whole market owned for our products. At this point, some may think that Monsanto has the right to the seed because they did the work to genetically modify it, and it's none of our business and it doesn't affect us. On the first part, you'd probably be correct. On the second part, you're totally wrong. It does affect us, and it affects everything that we eat. How Monsanto has infiltrated the government. Our Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas was an attorney for Monsanto in the 1970s. This may seem irrelevant. However, the cases that came before the Supreme Court regarding Monsanto had all been ruled in Monsanto's favor. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas should have recused himself from these cases. Next, we have Michael Taylor, who is the Deputy Commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. He wrote the guidelines that prohibited dairy corporations from labeling products using the bovine growth hormone, which Monsanto created. Years prior, he was a lawyer for Monsanto in the 1970s. He was reported to have prepared a memo for the company concerning the bovine growth hormone and whether states and corporations were allowed to erect laws that would require the labeling to dairy products that were free of the bovine growth hormone. In January of 2010, he was named Deputy Commissioner of Foods for the FDA, and he was the first to hold this position after President Obama had created it in 2009. His duties, ironically, are to develop and carry out prevention-based strategies for food safety, plan for new food safety legislation, ensure that the food labels contain clear and accurate information on the nutrition. In addition to, we have Margaret Miller, who is the Deputy Director in FDA's Office for New Animal Drugs. She was a former researcher for Monsanto's bovine growth hormone. Also, we have Susan Sechin. She was a reviewer in the FDA's Office for New Animal Drugs between 1988 and 1989. Prior to this, she had conducted Monsanto-funded research for the bovine growth hormone at Cornell University. The lawsuits regarding our local farmers. Monsanto had sued Percy Schmeiser for patent infringement when this farmer's field had been contaminated by Monsanto's genetically modified seed, had been carried by the wind and the pollen. In addition, he had won. Monsanto, during the Eugene Stratmeyer suit, had admitted they knew the agreements were being forged with the farmer's name. Monsanto versus the Nelson family. Monsanto had sent letters to at least 23 seed suppliers and instructed them not to sell any goods to the Nelsons. 40% of the fields tested were not owned by the Nelsons. North Dakota Seed Arbitration Board held a hearing Monsanto refused to appear at, and the board had seen no wrongdoing performed by the Nelsons. Monsanto has ignored the ruling. Sorry. I want to show you a visual of how easy it is for seed from neighboring farms to contaminate each other. In the middle, we have our pure white farm. Our neighboring farms, red and green ones, are considered genetically modified farms. With just a simple blow of the wind, you can see that our white pure farm has been contaminated by our neighboring farms. It's important to note that genetically modified anything changes the item from its original form so that it's no longer what it originally was. For example, genetically modified corn is no longer just corn. It's been genetically modified from its original state. Knowing that Monsanto is monopolizing the seed business through its patents and contracts with nation's farmers and the strong-arm tactics it's using on farmers that are not with them should make you suspicious of their products. Knowing about Monsanto's manufacturing history of harmful products should make you leery of anything associated with Monsanto's name. Knowing that the people who are working or have worked for Monsanto are also working in the very government agencies that we trust to regulate and ensure the safety of our food, what makes us distrustful of the government claims that these genetically modified foods are safe for our consumption. Policies and laws in place that protect companies like Monsanto, such as patent and monopoly laws and their loopholes, are considered by some to hold farmers and consumers hostage. As you saw from my visual at the farms in the wind, not only do unsuspecting farmers and their crops suffer from inadvertent contamination of genetically modified seeds and crops, but those contaminated crops contaminate our food that we eat. As I've also illustrated, the government agencies that were designed to protect the consumers have also been contaminated by Monsanto. I challenge each of you to begin now checking the food that you're buying in the stores and that you're eating, where it's coming from. I would urge you to ask the question, from artificial sweeteners to genetically modified animals and crops, is there anything real or pure anymore in our grocery stores? If the answer is no, it's time to make a change. By only buying non-genetically modified food, seeds, and ingredients, it'll hurt companies like Monsanto, and they'll be forced to simply supply us with what we are demanding, which is real, pure food that are not contaminated by chemicals and foods that have been altered from genetically modified organisms and altered from our original state. Take the pledge with me to only eat natural, real, non-genetically modified food.